Thank you, everybody, for joining another session of the Breakfast Club series, Customer Success Style. So the way that I know Ruben is through Lauren at Gainsight introduced us, but introduced me to Marta specifically, Ruben's wife. And Marta is like my spirit animal. She helps me with all my ebooks, the editing. She does all my blogs. I just absolutely love her. She's super talented. And so all the warm and fuzzy feelings I feel about the Rabago family is family-wide. So Ruben, why don't you just start with, what did you actually want to be when you grew up?
Well, it's funny, to be very honest with you. From the youngest as I could remember, I wanted to be an Air Force jet fighter pilot. And I was I just consumed books all the way up through like grade school. I got into junior high. I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the Air Force Academy. And I found out I needed glasses in 8th grade. I remember finding out the nurse said something, you need glasses. I was like, oh, that's a bunch of BS. I'm not listening to you. The nurse called my mom. He needs to go get glasses. I went and got checked. I need glasses. I literally, eighth grade boy, just literally cried. But I have something to show you. Can I actually share my screen? I want to
Yeah,
share my
please.
screen. And Marta had dug up, so I had to come up with a new dream, right? I had to come up with a new dream. And so this is a picture of me and my senior year in high school. I was the president of my high school computer club, and my dream was that one day I would be a guest on Dana Souza's CS Breakfast Club.
Oh my God.
That's not really true, but I thought you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, but I absolutely enjoy that. That is so great. Thank you, first of all, for the shout outs. And second of all, for showing that super geeky photo. So let's actually talk about your unique path to customer success. So tell us a story of how you actually moved into customer success.
Yeah, so number one, I did not have the conventional path to the C-suite. I think that's really important. I hope I'll do as quick as I can this story because I hope it does inspire other folks. I literally started as a software developer while I was still in college, built a little solution to track like research grants and renewal funding cadences for clinical reporting outcomes when I was there at the University of Arizona, and it was for a student project for the Cancer Center. Got hired, then became a network engineer, then became like all things technical implementation, project manager, jumped into my first startup, moved to Phoenix, and became a product manager for WebMD, one of the companies that had acquired us. I built out a sales engineering function there, led to a really large scale support organization. Then I jumped into another startup, built out a PMO function, and then led another support organization within that. And like all of this stuff essentially like led up to an opportunity to lead all things customer success for a cloud-based SaaS company. Yeah. And I had to learn really quickly what customer success was all about. It was barely named at the time. A software subscription had barely been named. So all of the things I knew about serving customers was broken in this model in terms of the economics of it and the servicing of it was not transactional, it was longitudinal. And so like at the end of the day, my journey to Intellum was certainly catapulted with the opportunities that I had at Gainsight. But I went from a leader, from being a manager and leading large teams and a lot of initiatives, to being an individual contributing CSM at Gainsight.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. You had all these different roles that you played, like support, product, tech, all these different roles that you had, and then all of a sudden leadership, like you said, and then all of a sudden start as an individual contributor.
Kelly Capote just joined we launched Gainsight like formally within about 30 days at Intellum. So she came, you said a few words, but she herself too was an individual contributor, as was Ashvin when we started within a few weeks of each other, a few months of each other at Gainsight. And so the path to the CCO is certainly, there's more and more opportunities, but I do want to be very vulnerable, and I would hope your listeners sort of like listen up here, because I felt throughout most of my career that I was behind my peers. I saw them advancing, getting promoted faster than I was. And I had believed, and I think there's probably truth in that that they were being very singular in their trajectory, where I was sort of like jumping from function to function. I believe my superpower is my range. And
And what do you mean by that?
and what I mean by, which came to fruition when I read the book written by David Epstein called Range. The subtitle is Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. And it was it was the book that sort of encapsulated how much better suited you are when you get to a C level, when you have a range of experiences. You can see around the corners, you can see things and contemplate things from all sorts of different lenses and different filters, as opposed to if you were only a CSM and just wanted to become a CSM. Sometimes your trajectory, your promotion is not within just the CS world. So I think there's a couple of different paths, and it's okay to slide back in, because as CS progresses and permeates all parts of the organization, I think they're all going to essentially feed into the opportunity to jump into a CCO role.
Yeah, and I think that's so true, that the more that you know about every part of a business, the more ready you are to take on a leadership role. It was from there that like you really skyrocketed. If we were to give 3 tactics or activities that you use to actually fast track these promotions, what would those be?
You have to do the job you have now extraordinarily well.
Yes.
Sounds simple, but all too often people are so focused on attaining the next level so much that they forget to take care of business, right? Number 2, be coachable. And then also, that sounds easier said than done. That means having the humility to receive coaching. And you have to be willing to receive coaching even if the person doesn't know how to deliver it in a constructive way. You have to be able to apply the filters and let go of the ego and listen for the truths in their feedback. And the third thing, it's a tactic, right? And it's approach your executive or your VP of CS or whomever and ask if you can help on any special projects. Or even better, come with one in mind that requires very little or no investment and a little bit of oversight on their part.
I love that. You have to really focus on doing your job well. And I never put it so succinctly, Ruben. Do the job that you have really super well, and then be coachable, even if it's ugly and not put in the right wrapping, and think about what truth is there that I can actually apply. I think that's awesome. Let's talk about how others can get promoted. So what were the circumstances or the main catalysts that led to each of these promotions, or just one or two?
I think I'm going to use the phrase networking with action. And what I mean by that is don't network just for network purposes, just to rub elbows with other influential people. It's what I mean by that is bolster your teammates, bolster your peers, encourage and help your cross-functional teammates attain their success, compliment their work in front of their boss, and do that unsolicitedly, right? And then I would say the other thing is, I think I said this earlier, don't assume your promotion has to be within your department, because it's okay to jump to another part of the org and learn something entirely differently, because that is, you can't see that as lost time or starting over. It's all additive. And you're going to be able to like reach into that in a way nobody else is. So I would say don't be afraid to be so single-minded about, I want to be a director of CS. Maybe your path is going to be different.
Yeah, it might take a circuitous path to get there. And this idea of trying the different roles, I really love. Okay, so on the job expectations, once CCO, what was the biggest surprise that you want the audience to prepare for on their road to CCO?
I think the biggest lesson for me, especially if you're a person who naturally rolls up their sleeve and knows you can do the work and can get the work done and is not afraid to do the actual work, how easy it is to get pulled down and stuck in the weeds. Your role literally demands that you stay strategic and visionary. And so for me, it was fighting, and sometimes not really well, fighting the resistance of going on and getting like literally pulled into the minutia of a particular customer escalation, and rather than give guidance and perspective and use it as a coachability opportunity, you're actually solving, and that's not where your role is best served as a CCO.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The only way that you can be effective and, promote change across the org would be that. I love that advice. Everybody listen to that. Okay, so making a difference for CCO hopefuls. What are the 3 biggest focus areas a CCO should concentrate on in their first 90 days?
There's no one first. Just in general, I don't think this is the right answer for every situation. But I think it should be a combination of the 3 that I'll mention, which is meet with a mix of your customers, large and small, in good health and in bad health. And I think you need to get that full scope and try to go honestly towards the extremes of that. The really big customers, the really small customers, the really unhealthy ones, and the very healthy ones. Because the middle ones, you're going to be able to interpolate what that means, and you'll get plenty of that. I think you need to establish and foster relationships cross-functionally really early, especially with your sales and product counterparts. So head of sales, head of product, I think are extraordinarily important, because those relationships fundamentally that's the triad of the business, if you think about it. And then number 3 is, this was for me incredibly important, was to meet with as many persons one-on-one that report within your organization, irrespective how big or what role they play, because they aren't just your employees. They're not just names on an org chart. These are people that have been entrusted to you, and they've been entrusted for you to help bring them together to help drive success for the business. And like, each one of them wants the same thing that I do. It's to be successful in their job, to be successful in their career, to be successful in life and in their relationships. And so I think that human layer, because we can get so caught up in the motion, the methodology, the steps, the business metrics, and everything else, that you forget that people don't wake up wanting to fail. And I think, like, just connecting the human dots, and if nothing more, just get to know them as a person.
Okay, interesting. And I'll close out with this one question, which is the connection in the meetings. What did you talk about? Like, what was your agenda or your thoughts? Was it to just get to know them and just introduce yourself to build some rapport?
No, so the first time is like, I wrote a mini novel of who I am, how I am as a human, as a father, been married 30 years, blah, blah, it's like
humanizing.
I gave them an insight to who I am. I'm not just like this executive and this titled person that's part of the organization. And that email gets essentially resent out to every new staff member. And then the one-on-one is like, if you're so compelled, I don't want to push you, I just want to get to know you. Like, where are you from? Where do you live? Tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me about, like, the things that I just wouldn't know, because you are more than the seat you're sitting in today.
Yeah.
You have a story. You have a journey here, right? That's the piece that I want to get to know. And then subsequent one-on-ones, which I've tried to do, like just spread the entire organization. My EA just sort of scheduled it all the way out, is bring me a few things that are working well, bring me some things that aren't working well, and let's talk about your career aspirations. So those are so like when we meet one-on-one, again, all the way through the organization, those are the things that we discuss.
I love that.
In other words, they own the agenda.
I love that. That's great. These are some really great tactics for all you CCO hopefuls and ones that are just starting in that role. Take this advice. Ruben, I am so grateful to be able to have you on our Breakfast Club series, Customer Success Style. Thank you so much for sharing. And I do have to give a quick plug that I am actually creating something called the Customer Everything Club. So go to danasouza.com/mailing-list. Ruben, I am really excited. I'm going to be meeting with Marta in a few weeks to finish up part 3 of my ebook. I can't wait. And thank you so much for being part of this. And I'm just forever grateful.
Well, thank you for what you do for the community, and your vigor and enthusiasm, and just the joy you bring. We're all better for it. So cheers to you.
Cheers to you.